Did you know some of the greatest scientific breakthroughs were achieved by women whose names you've probably never heard of? We're often told stories of Einstein, Newton, and Edison, but history is filled with brilliant minds who were ignored, erased, or had their work stolen simply because they were women. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to uncover the untold stories of these forgotten geniuses whose discoveries changed our world. Let's start with a name that should be as famous as Marie Curie's: Lise Meitner. Born in Austria, Meitner was a trailblazing nuclear physicist at a time when women were barely allowed in laboratories. She formed a formidable partnership with chemist Otto Hahn, and together they delved into the mysteries of the atom. But as Nazism swept across Europe, Meitner, who was of Jewish heritage, was forced to flee for her life. In a heart-pounding escape, she fled Germany with nothing but a few belongings and the clothes on her back, eventually finding refuge in Sweden. Even in exile, her mind never stopped working. She continued collaborating with Hahn through letters, and it was she who first pieced together the puzzle of their experiments. Meitner realized they had done something unimaginable. They had split the atom. She coined the term nuclear fission and explained the massive energy it would release. It was a discovery that would define the 20th century. Yet when the Nobel Prize was awarded for this monumental breakthrough in 1944, it went to Otto Hahn alone. Meitner was completely overlooked. Despite this injustice, she refused to be bitter and continued her work, advocating for the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Decades later, the scientific community began to acknowledge her pivotal role, and in 1997, a new element, meitnerium, was named in her honor, a permanent tribute to the true mother of the atomic age. Now, let's travel back to the early 20th century in America, to a story of incredible resilience against both racism and sexism. Meet Alice Ball. An African-American chemist, Ball was a true prodigy. She broke barriers by becoming the first woman and the first African-American to earn a master's degree from the University of Hawaii. At just 23 years old, she took on one of the most terrifying diseases of her time: leprosy. For centuries, leprosy was a devastating illness with no effective cure. Patients were exiled to colonies, left to suffer in isolation. The existing treatment, chalmugra oil, was excruciatingly painful to inject and barely worked. Alice Ball had a brilliant idea. She developed a technique to make the oil water-soluble, allowing it to be safely injected and absorbed by the body. This became known as the Ball method, and it was the first truly effective treatment for leprosy. It was a miracle that freed thousands of people from a lifetime of suffering and stigma, allowing them to return to their families. But here's the tragic twist. Alice Ball died tragically young before she could even publish her findings. A male colleague, the president of the university, stole her research, published it under his own name, and took all the credit. For decades, Alice Ball was forgotten, her revolutionary contribution erased from the history books. It wasn't until many years later that a former colleague fought to restore her legacy. Finally, after nearly a century of silence, the University of Hawaii officially recognized her discovery, and the state of Hawaii now celebrates Alice Ball Day every 4 years. Her story is a powerful reminder of how easily history can be rewritten and how vital it is to fight for the truth. From the fight against an ancient disease to a modern pandemic, our next story introduces a scientist whose work was crucial in the battle against AIDS. Her name is Flossie Wong-Staal. Born in China, Wong-Staal moved to the United States to pursue her passion for science, eventually becoming a world-renowned virologist. In the early 1980s, as the world grappled with the terrifying and mysterious new disease called AIDS, she was at the forefront of the research. While others had identified the virus that caused AIDS, now known as HIV, it was Flossie Wong-Staal who took the critical next step. In 1985, she became the first person ever to clone the HIV virus. This wasn't just a scientific curiosity, it was a game-changer. By cloning the virus, she was able to map its genetic makeup. This genetic blueprint was the key that unlocked our understanding of how HIV replicates and evades the immune system. Her work paved the way for the development of blood tests to detect HIV, preventing its spread through transfusions, and it laid the foundation for the antiretroviral drugs that have since turned an almost certain death sentence into a manageable chronic condition. Flossie Wong-Staal's breakthrough has saved countless lives and fundamentally changed global health. Yet outside of scientific circles, her name remains largely unknown. She is a true hero of modern medicine, whose impact is felt by millions every single day. Our final story is about a woman often called the First Lady of Physics, whose experimental genius settled one of the biggest debates in quantum mechanics. Her name is Chien Shiung Wu. After moving from China to the United States for her studies, she quickly established herself as a meticulous and brilliant experimental physicist. Her expertise was so valued that she was recruited to work on the top-secret Manhattan Project during World War II, where she helped develop the process for separating uranium isotopes. But her most famous contribution came in 1956. Two of her male colleagues, Tsung-Dao Lee and Chen-Ning Yang, proposed a radical theory that a fundamental law of physics, the law of parity conservation, might not hold true in certain interactions. It was a shocking idea that challenged a core principle of physics. But it was just a theory. They needed an experiment to prove it. The experiment was so complex and delicate that many thought it was impossible. But they knew who to turn to: Chien Shiung Wu. Working tirelessly through the Christmas holidays, Wu designed and executed a flawless experiment. The results were revolutionary. She proved that parity was, in fact, not conserved. Her experiment sent shockwaves through the physics community and reshaped our understanding of the universe. The following year, the Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded for this discovery, but it went to Li and Yang. Chien Shiung Wu, the woman whose experimental brilliance confirmed their theory, was left out. It was another glaring omission by the Nobel Committee. Despite this, Wu continued her illustrious career, becoming a powerful advocate for women in science and a true icon in the world of physics. Lise Meitner, Alice Ball, Flossie Wong-Staal, and Chien Shiung Wu are just four of the countless women whose monumental achievements have been sidelined by history. Their stories are not just about science, they're about resilience, injustice, and the fight for recognition. They remind us that genius has no gender, and that we have a collective responsibility to uncover and celebrate these hidden figures. When we only tell half the story, we all lose. Learning about these incredible women challenges us to look deeper and question the histories we've been taught. Whose stories are still waiting to be told? Who are the forgotten geniuses from your own communities or countries? Please share their names and stories in the comments below. Let's work together to build a more complete and honest picture of our shared history. Thank you so much for watching. If you found these stories as inspiring as I did, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more untold stories that deserve to be heard. See you next time.